Darkcast Network. Out of the shadows comes the best of indie podcasts. Welcome to Castles and Cryptids, where the castles are haunted and the cryptids are cryptic as fuck. And I'm your host, Alanna.
I'm Kelsey.
And you're listening to episode 105. I think we're talking about calling it Kids Who Kill or Killer Kids.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
One of
straight to
those,
the
yeah.
point. Just like these kids were. No, okay, I'll be more tasteful, I promise. It's been a long fucking week, you guys.
Oh.
It's gonna be a long weekend, though. We're getting there. We're getting there.
I
Or do you work? Oh no, it's
work
almost that
Saturday,
holiday.
but after
Yeah.
I only work 4 hours, and then after we're taking my niece to the zoo, and it's gonna be adorable. I
Oh,
can't
that's
wait. It's
awesome.
gonna be so fun.
Yeah. Oh,
Hopefully it's not quite as hot as they say it's supposed to be.
but
Uh
it's supposed to be pretty hot, I heard.
yeah.
Which with the
Uh
smoke, it'll be interesting because we've had a lot of wildfires here lately, so it's been quite smoky.
Yeah,
Yeah.
hoping it turns around because I think my brother like pre-booked a time slot for us because they only let a certain amount of people in at a time to kind of keep it from being like crazy at certain times. Yeah. So,
Oh, that sounds neat.
yeah. Yeah,
That'll
I
be
think they
fun.
started doing it with COVID and then they kind of kept it in place. So,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
hopefully it turns out to be nice. So, yeah, I get to look forward to that.
That's awesome. We've been actually trying to get to the one in the supposedly bigger zoo down in Calgary, but I
Mm,
haven't been to that one, but everyone says it's nice, but I feel like I've been trying to visit it like since we moved here. We're like, "Oh yeah, we'll do that one of these years," you know.
yeah.
It's just like it's a bit of a drive and then we always have like a dog, so it's always been like this thing like
Yeah.
what do we do with the dog? You're like the only person the dog can stand, so it's a whole thing.
Yeah.
If I ask you, it might be because we can't find a dog sitter. No.
That's okay.
Oh, well, we never know. We might get on one of those road trips one of these days. And Pat's always threatening to take us back to his hometown in southern BC. So,
Oh, nice.
yeah, it could be a road trip maybe this year. And then desperately, I'm trying to visit my mother if it's feasible because we haven't been out there in a couple of years. So, usually
Yeah.
try to visit every couple summers or so. Um, Goddamn flights within Canada aren't cheap, so
No, so
stupid big
expensive.
country. Yeah, you can't just guys. We're big. We're like USA, Russia big. You can't just drive three
Yeah.
provinces in 3 days, like unless you like
No.
don't sleep, because that's
Yeah.
how I think a friend of Pat and I's did it one time. But
Oh God. That'd be
yeah,
scary.
you can't do that without like some sort of caffeinated drugs or something.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like driving through all the flyover states. Anyway, um, oh, did I have a fun fact? Well, I can't remember now. I
Gonna say a fun fact about kids that are murderers.
no, just a fact to start us off, like sometimes, but that's all good. I got that. No, no. We'll get right into the child murdering. Last week's episode was fun. It was kind of
Yes.
grimy too, and did have some dark elements, but I really enjoyed even re-listening to your case when I was editing it.
Yeah.
Doing half of it, the half that I could edit, because oh my god, technology hates me, and Kelsey saved the day, saved my ass. You
Yeah.
guys have all heard it now, and then heard the extra part, which was the dark side of Disney. So we did a few different urban legend deep
Yeah, it
dives.
was fun.
Yeah, yours was really really interesting. I hadn't known any of the truth behind that case or whatever. It's like,
Right?
well, what we do know anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot we still probably will never know. Uh,
Yeah. But someone definitely died. So that
yeah.
happened. That was not a, like, it was, yeah. They're always based
Yeah.
on something.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. People only like sort of allegedly died in most of mine.
Right?
Somebody killed himself on this ride. Yeah. That kind of
Yeah.
stuff. But I think they're equally entertaining, but that's just me.
Yeah.
Hopefully everyone else did too.
Yeah. Hopefully.
You can let us know. There's the comments section on the Spotify now.
Yes. It always says like when we're making the episode in Anchor, it always says, "Do you want to add a poll to this episode?" I'm like, how
Yeah.
what would that even be? Do you just type in whatever you want? Like, and
Yeah, I can't think of a poll unless something comes up organically when you're talking. Like sometimes I'll hear happen on other podcasts, like, "Oh, what? You thought that was gross?" Well, that's I don't think that was
yeah.
gross. Like somebody today, well, I took some olive oil because somebody had some and it was unused, and then the other person was like, kind of a, no, that's gross, and I was like, oh my god. Personally, I think you're being a bit of a germaphobe, but you know what I mean. And then
Yeah.
she was like, does anyone else agree with me? Because then the other person in the room was agreeing with the the germaphobe. I don't know. I was like,
Oh.
yes. Anyway, yeah, you can comment. I commented on someone's episode recently as I thought of something after listening to it, and then I realized that if I have a username on Spotify, it was like, as you would say, like a keyboard smash. It was just a bunch of letters and numbers because you had no like reason to have a username before that. It was just
Oh.
Spotify. Like you just listen to things. There was no commenting.
Yeah.
Nobody was really following you. Nobody's
Yeah.
following me. I follow like Cher and the Chili Peppers and like some like bands. So I had to
Yeah.
change it so that it would appear as something more normal, and I changed it to Alanna Banana, so at least it's not just like
I love it.
keyboard smash.
Yeah. I don't
Yeah.
really, other than I guess when I'm embedding our episode audios to the website or going to post on our Facebook. I
Yeah.
otherwise I don't really use Spotify at all. So,
Whoa, hot take.
yeah.
You just listen to Crimes and Consequences on their website?
I did until I basically ran out of episodes and then I was trying to listen to stuff on Patreon, but it was annoying cuz like as you go down, they have so many Patreon episodes that like they have almost 200 Patreon episodes. So it was very annoying
Mm,
to try and find where I was.
keep
So,
scrolling, scrolling, scrolling.
yeah.
Yep. Been there.
Uh yeah, that was really annoying and then it said if you copied their is it RSS feed? If you copied that
Yes.
feed and you put it into Google Podcasts, you could like subscribe through there. So that's what I did. And on that one, you can
Oh.
reorder their episodes and you can add them to kind of a playlist. And then as you listen to them, you can check them off. And then it just, so then next time you go into it, just the one that's at the top is like your next episode. So
Wow, okay,
I've been
that
using
literally
that.
sounds like the type of work you had to do when podcasts first came out. Because
Yeah,
I,
probably.
li- I listened to a thing the other day about it. Like, it's one of those Netflix shows, like Explained or something, where they like in half an
Oh,
hour kind of give you like the history or
yeah.
something. Yeah, so it was a bunch of different episodes on different like pieces of technology. I listened to the one about podcasts, and they're like, yeah, that was at a time where yeah, you had to like download each one individually, kind of
Yeah.
thing. Like, it wasn't just as easy as it is now, and that's what I'm like, whoa. Um, Not a
Yeah.
Spotify ad, but they're pretty easy place to listen to. That's just where I
Yeah.
listen to a
Well,
lot of stuff and good pods.
it said I could copy the RSS feed into Spotify. And then I kept looking at
Yeah.
all these like how to do that. And then a bunch of stuff was still saying you couldn't add an RSS feed that you had like acquired from somebody. Um,
Well, because now you're talking about stuff that's not just published on their Spotify,
yeah,
right? Yeah, this was stuff
yeah,
from
it's
their
like
Patreon.
private.
Yeah,
So
that's
yeah.
weird.
And then it said and then everything I was trying to look up was saying you couldn't do it. And then everything that said you could do it was actually not talking about you listening to somebody else's podcast. It was like how to create your own RSS feed for your podcast from
Yeah, because
Spotify.
that's like
And it was
your
like, no,
podcast link thing.
yeah. I'm like, that's not
Yeah.
what I want. I want to add somebody else's to mine so I can listen to it. And then after like an hour, I just got mad. And then something said I could do it
No.
on Google and was like, okay, done. I'll just listen to it on Google.
Yeah, I wouldn't even have the patience. I know the scrolling is annoying because I've listened to a lot of people's backlogs on Patreon because obviously if you love a show enough, you're gonna
Yeah.
listen to the back stuff. No, and I get it. It takes a long time to scroll back when they have a lot of stuff, but
Yeah.
it's it's also a good problem to have.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my god, that sounds like a nightmare.
Yeah. It was just like, oh, I don't want to scroll through 180. Well, they have 186
Yeah.
episodes. And then on Patreon, they also release their regular episodes. So,
Oh,
like,
like ad free.
there's like
Can
400 episodes
can you
on.
not do like what's the word? Sort it by like category, like bonus episodes versus regular?
Oh, I don't know. It came up saying I could do like
Sometimes.
latest or newest, like switch that, but I don't
Oh,
really
okay.
know.
Sometimes you can
Yeah.
sort it if they've got them kind of hashtagged or divided into different categories. You
I
can
don't know.
at least narrow it down a little bit.
Yeah, I was like, this is brutal. Like, I'm not doing this.
I think I've tried to do that with ours, but eh, I'm sporadic.
Yeah.
I've started to drop putting the episode or EP on our episode titles too, because I was just like, oh my god, they get it. I'm just gonna put the number.
Mm. Yeah.
Sometimes we'll do it a little differently. Like you'll put yours all in caps and I'll put mine like a EP dot and it'll bother
I
me.
know.
It'll be like just look a little different. Oh my god. And other ways people can be anal. No.
Yeah.
I just thought I'll simplify it because like to me sometimes that kind of thing distracts me a little bit, but it
Oh,
might
okay.
it might distract other people too. I don't know. You tell us.
Yeah, that'll be our poll.
How do you want the episode titles to appear? I've always wondered, yeah, it says you can put a seat, like what season is this? What episode? And then I've always wondered
Yeah.
how that would appear. Would it be like season 1, episode 2? Like would it spell it all out? I've never used that feature.
Yeah. I don't know how that would work. I've never seen it on somebody else's.
Lord knows. But you know, that's us. We're the
Yeah.
pros.
Yeah. That's why you
Ugh.
keep coming back.
Hey, I love a celeb who stays down to earth. I'm like, fuck yeah, still talk about how you're a real human who puts their pants like on one at a time and sometimes accidentally shits in them. That's fine. I love those stories.
Oh,
They make me
jeez.
laugh. Relatable. Okay.
Yeah.
You want to tell me a story? Maybe not a poop story. No.
Yeah, this is definitely not a poop story. Um,
No.
and in trying to look up my case, I guess I ran across the fact that something very similar happened with somebody that has almost the exact same name. So when I was looking up
Oh, as
research, I
okay, as the
had
person.
yeah, I had to keep making sure I was reading the right case because they're almost exactly the same. And then I kept being like, wow, this is such a similar case. And I probably wouldn't have noticed hadn't it been for the fact that the other case is one that got covered not too long ago on Crimes and Consequences. So whenever I kept seeing the picture from it, I'm like, that's the other one. I recognize that guy's like mugshot. And that's not the one I'm intending to look up right now. So yeah.
Oh my god. I have been
Um
like halfway through a story and been like, "Oh, Yes, I know this case. I've heard this on something else
Yeah.
because people will just tell it so differently, and you're like,
Yeah.
then something clicks, and you're like,
Or you
oh,
don't remember a name.
oh
And
God, because
stuff
who
like
can
that. Yeah.
remember all the names?
Yeah. No.
I I thought I remembered a case. They were like, oh yeah, that case of the lottery winner who got murdered, and I went, oh yeah, I know that one. And then I thought to myself, Abraham Simpson, and then I went, nope, that's Grandpa from The Simpsons. It was Abraham. And then I was like, I looked it up. Shakespeare. Yep, I knew it was something unique. Anyway, that's a
Uh,
pretty crazy case. He like won the lottery and then like got targeted for that and was murdered,
yeah.
unfortunately. Yeah.
I've heard
But
some ones about people, they're like cousins and or brothers and stuff coming for them. It's pretty crazy.
money killings.
Yeah.
Putting it on the list.
But for this one, so the one I'm going to talk about is Nathan Brooks, spelled Nathon. There's a different
Oh.
one that's Nathan, and both named Nathan, both with the last name Brooks. So,
But one is Nathan, which you don't see too often.
yeah. Yeah, and Nathan is the one we're talking about, not Nathan.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That is very weird.
Yeah.
So
So when you Google one of them, like a mixture of both of them kind of comes up, and you're like, oh, which ones am I reading about? So I had to keep double checking as I was reading stuff.
weird. That is
Um,
odd.
yeah, so this, jumping right into it, is on March 8th, 2013. A 14-year-old boy described as happy and high achieving in school ended up walking into his parents' room while they were asleep and shot them at point blank range, which is horrifying.
His
Uh,
parents' room?
yeah. So he shoots his
Holy
parents.
shit.
He ended up hitting them each about 3 times, including each of them once in the head, in different spots. Yeah.
That was quick.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're sleeping, you
Yeah,
don't,
right?
yeah, have as much of
So,
a time for reaction, I guess. We'll
yeah,
say.
exactly. So,
Fuck.
what led up to this moment is I describe as pretty confusing and a seemingly unmotivated shooting that shocked a small family and even the community around them.
Okay.
Yeah. So, Nathan's mom, Beth, she was shot 3 times, including just beneath one of her eyes.
Oh,
Uh, yeah, I
rough.
think it must have been some point because she ends up with damaged hearing and stuff. But yeah, so it must have been that like side of her head, and the father John was also shot multiple times, including through the forehead. And
Holy shit.
yeah,
So, sounds like one of them might have survived, at least long enough for them to know that there was hearing damage.
so I know we named it Killer Kids, or like Kids Who Kill, but amazingly, both the mother and the father survived.
No fucking way. The
Right?
dad, too?
Yeah, shot in the forehead. Yeah, so technically the kid
That.
isn't a killer, but the intent was definitely there. And
I would say.
once I started reading about this, I was like, oh, this is like kind of interesting to get into this case.
Like the forensic files where the guy gets hit with the axe in the head by,
Yeah,
I think, the son and wanders around
yeah,
for a while.
that's
And like,
definitely what I thought of.
yeah, one of them survived in that one, and you're just like, how? And this one, I'm
Yeah,
like, double how?
yeah, right.
Holy fuck.
Um, and it's actually really shocking. So, amazingly, they both end up surviving. And in fact, both of them were fully conscious just minutes after the shooting. And John was the one who ended up calling the police. Like,
Crazy.
and if I give me a sec, I can bring it up on my phone. It has like a little documentary was released after um about it, and there's like a little snippet of it that's a few minutes long on YouTube that I ended up watching, and they actually have the 911 call.
Oh no. That can be pretty chilling.
There was so much blood, it was surreal.
Can you tell me exactly what happened?
I don't know, I woke up and they all been shot.
The worst part is to find out that he emptied the gun. Boom, 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 boom.
Yeah.
Ooh.
So that little snippet, that was just John on the phone saying, like, he woke up and they had all, like, him and his wife had been shot.
Wow. He sounds completely lucid.
Right?
But like
Yeah, like they're both completely conscious. Yeah, like I said, moments after the shooting. So,
weird.
after John calls the police, or 911, emergency services and like paramedics and everything arrive really quickly. John later says, all I really saw was a dark figure standing there. I was shot in the face, so it just shattered this bone. It must be like one of his facial bones. The bullet went through here, really closely missed the bone to the spine, and I knew I was hurt bad because I kept losing sight and the blood kept coming, so I had to keep wiping it away. Which,
It had to have at least
yeah.
shattered his whatever the bone around your eye, orbital bone,
Yeah.
maybe. Oh my god.
And then Beth ended up later saying to Mom that, quote, my neurologist said that I'm the first he'd encountered to come out of that walking and talking. And also, when she asked her neurologist why she was still alive, his response was that none of us know. Like, nobody knows. It's really just like miraculous that they did survive.
Wow. Yeah. Well, that's what makes those cases stand out. I also do now think of the one I did with the for how the turntables, where the guy was put in the
Yeah.
Ryan guy was put in the interview room for so long because they thought he was the perpetrator, but
That's so
he had been
sad.
shot in the head. Yeah, and they
Yeah,
couldn't.
that was so sad.
Yeah, it's like difficult sometimes to apparently diagnose if you're not
Yeah.
a professional. Ugh, to think.
So originally, Nathan lied to police and said that a stranger had done it. Um, and because his parents, like his dad, is the one that woke up first, uh, he didn't see Nathan as the one shooting them. He just saw a dark figure standing there. So when he said that a stranger had done it, his parents actually kind of backed him up because they were initially unaware of the shooter's identity.
Oh,
So they did kind
okay.
of say,
So
yeah,
I can picture maybe he saw like a silhouette and that's it.
yeah,
Also, like you're asleep and then you just got shot in the head. Maybe your
yeah,
perception's a
exactly.
little off. Oh my god.
Um, what's really chilling I found about this case is there's actually CCTV footage from inside the house that ends
Oh.
up being, yeah, which it's really weird why this is set up. So this gets discovered pretty quickly by police. The parents say it was set up to make sure that Nathan was doing his chores. Um, but in the little trailer for the documentary, like they kind of say it may have been something different, like a little more like almost like abusive, like extremely controlling, you're not allowed to leave the house kind of thing going on. And because he has a
Oh.
security camera and it's pointed inside. But at the same time, I know plenty of people that have pets and they had security cameras so that they could check on their pets when they were at work.
Sure. So the reasons for the camera is a little
Weird.
murky. Yeah.
Yeah, not too sure about that. But
Hmm.
it's chilling, and the reason I bring this up is because the CCTV footage actually shows Nathan running through the house, like kind of back and forth, wearing just his underwear and carrying the gun just prior to the shooting. Uh,
Oh.
yeah, that's how they determine and kind of bring it up to him like, okay, we know you were the shooter, you need to spill the beans about what happened.
We saw you doing your what is it when he's Tom Cruise is like
Risky
in the
Business.
underwear. Is it Risky Business? I was gonna say
I
I
think
want to
so.
say that or Jerry Maguire. And then he's singing in the
I think
house.
it's
Yeah.
Risky Business.
Sliding. No, that sounds right. That sounds right.
Yeah. So
In
when
last episode I think I said School of Rock when I meant to say Schoolhouse Rock, so you guys get it.
oh
You'll figure it out.
uh
Context.
so yeah, police confront him kind of with this footage, and this is when he changes his story and he finally confesses to being the shooter.
Okay.
So yeah, there's actually some pictures in the drive that'll be on the website, and one of them includes like the frame of him. You can see it's pretty grainy because he's like going pretty fast, but yeah, you can kind of see like the black of the gun and then like him walking through the kitchen kind of with the gun.
Oh, that is
Yeah.
crazy. You
So
can't
in
usually have footage of a murder
right?
or,
Yeah.
yeah, even pre-murder.
Yeah, there's no question he did it.
Wow.
So in kind of the police interviews at this point, Nathan couldn't explain his actions or even his motivation for wanting to shoot his parents. In his own description of the attacks, he said the following: I walked into their bedroom, I raised the gun, I don't know why, and then I remember having these really quick thoughts of, you don't have to do it. But they were so quick and like suddenly gone that I didn't really have a chance to think about it. And before I realized what I'd done, I'd pulled the trigger and the gun had gone off. I fired again, and then I fired again. I ran down the hallway, I sat down on the stairs, and that's when it really clicked what I'd done. Which,
Oh,
yeah. He
oh no.
continues. He continues saying, I don't know what I was thinking. Kids don't just pull a gun on their parents. At this point, the interrogating officer responds saying, You're a good kid, which Nathan replies, Apparently
Oh,
not.
okay. I get he's
Yeah.
trying to relate to the kid,
Well, like,
but
everybody says he's a good kid. Like, this came out of nowhere.
oh no.
Yeah.
Yeah, he sounds
Um,
confused about his own motives, which is
yeah.
always unfortunate because you're like, well, I don't know what to feel. Like you obviously need some
Right?
help.
Yeah.
Shouldn't come
Um,
to that, but oh boy.
yeah, so they say you're a good kid. Nathan replies, Apparently not. I almost killed my parents. And then when the officer asks him, What were you trying to do when you pulled the trigger? Nathan replies, What a gun does, kill. So, like, that's all you can really say about what happened.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very, very confused about his motivations, but all right.
Yeah,
Or
exactly.
yeah, or whether or not he's like play acting at any point. If he's like, I didn't know
Yeah.
what I was doing, but then he's like, well, what did you think you were doing? Killing. Like,
Yeah.
well, okay. So you knew what you're doing was wrong.
Yeah. So Nathan told police during his confession, because they considered this a confession, that he had taken the 22 Smith and Wesson pistol from a locked case in the spare room of the house, and he remembers thinking, quote, it would be so much better if they weren't around to tell me what to do. Uh, and this was just
Oh.
before shooting his parents 3 times each. Um, at this point, like everybody and like we're all asking, what's the motivation here? Like, what possible reason could he have for wanting to shoot his parents?
Yeah, other than that normal, like what you just said, oh, they tell me what to do. Like,
That's really what it comes down to,
mm,
unfortunately. The only motivation ever determined is that on the day of the shooting, Nathan had been told to do a bunch of chores, and he had also been grounded, told he wasn't allowed to use any electronics by his parents after he had gotten detention at school for being late.
okay. So he's
Yeah.
grounded and he's
Yeah.
mad.
Mm-hmm. And
Wow.
just just a few hours before the attack, apparently, Nathan's father had told him, quote, "Get some sleep. You've got a lot of work to do, and you're not going to be playing in the game," which was an upcoming basketball tournament.
Oh,
Uh,
okay.
yeah, so he wouldn't be allowed to play in that either. Um, Nathan says that him not being allowed to play in the basketball game was like the click of what kind of like set him off.
Oh,
And
jeez.
yeah, kind of,
I don't even know
yeah,
what to say to that. Oh my god.
right? Like, it's a pretty normal thing for parenting. For, your kid gets detention, you're gonna ground them at home. The kid's 14. Like,
Yeah. Murder motives always hard to understand when you're not a murderer. Doubly hard to understand when they're a minor and
yeah,
they're a child thinking like,
eh,
I don't want to do this.
yeah, right. Yeah, that's exactly right. Um, a kind of like other alternative thing, which I'm not really sure how much I feel about this, but Nathan's best friend Caden from school, he ends up mentioning at some point, in the source I read, this was talking about like during court, but I highly doubt this was during like the trial or anything. Um,
Oh,
Maybe it
okay.
was just in talking with the police. He says that Nathan had spoken to him about his parents being like severely strict a few different times, but Caden himself hadn't felt that it was cause for alarm at the time. But Nathan
Oh,
had been telling him like his parents are really, really strict. Which kind of, I feel like
interesting.
when I read that the first time, I kind of went back, yeah, and you've got like CCTV pointed inside the house so you can watch him do chores. Like, yeah,
Right. I
that's,
wonder if the friend experienced that when he was over there too, or if it was just something that
yeah,
Nathan said.
I don't know. So,
Huh.
later on, the family ended up doing interviews with the TV show 60 Minutes.
Mm.
So Nathan ended up rejecting questions that they were trying to ask about whether he had been physically abused. Um, and yeah, because they were trying to ask
Okay.
about that. So he was like rejecting the questions. I don't know if they mean he was saying no. It seems like he was kind of like saying no comment or refusing to answer
Right.
them. And during this 60 Minutes interview, he said the trigger or what prompted the attack was when his father had told him couldn't participate in that basketball tournament after getting to detention. He then said, quote, "I just kind of sat there being frustrated and looked at them and felt that these people were taking all of my rights from me and that rights that I felt like I deserved." And then he continued on saying that he felt a huge amount of remorse almost immediately after firing the last shot. And that's kind of why he, I assume, just like walked out of the room and just sat on the stairs, basically, by the front door.
Okay.
He just sat
Yeah.
there until the police arrived. Like, yeah.
Wow. He didn't try to
Um,
hide it. Okay.
no. Yeah, there was no manhunt for him. He was sitting on the steps when they arrived. And
Hmm.
his parents, as I said, they survived. So they spent a number of weeks recovering from these gunshot wounds, including to the head. Beth says that she's now deaf in one ear and ends up suffering a lot of memory loss and some numbness as a result of her injuries.
I mean,
So,
wow, yeah. I would imagine there would be some lasting side effects.
yeah. There is
That's
a
horrible, but it almost seems like somehow she almost couldn't like got off light compared to what it could have been.
Exactly. Like looking at the picture of the couple in the interview, you would never be able to tell like they had both been shot in the head. Like no way.
Oh,
There is
afterwards.
yeah, like they're looking there, they look 100% normal. Like not even like scarring surgeries, nothing. Like
I'll
they
have to
look
look, but
complete.
I finally found the one, well, earlier, like you said, when he's going through the house. It's
Oh,
like
in his underwear?
picture.
Isn't that a little
Yeah, from the video.
yeah, it's
That's
kind
like
of chilling to look at.
Yeah, especially
It
if you
just
watch
like,
any of the Paranormal Activity movies, where a lot of that was
hmm
from the perspective of the the camera in the home.
yeah,
That's what it reminds me of, because he's just like flitting by it. You can tell, like
yeah,
I could just see
and
like he's streaking,
yeah,
and it would be
it's
funny if it
pretty,
weren't so
yeah,
gross.
it's
Yeah,
pretty grainy, and
it
stuff
is.
too.
Yeah,
But you can just so see like the black outline of the weapon, kind of. Yeah.
it
So
is difficult. Yeah, I have a
yeah.
hard time seeing. Is the picture on the drive after they got shot, or
Yeah,
that
that's their
looks like it's from the
interview.
interview? Oh, okay,
That's their
wow,
interview
yeah.
is 60 minutes. Like they look
Oh, yeah.
perfectly fine. Yeah.
Yeah, there's
It's
not really any visible scarring that
nothing
would lead you
really.
to immediately go, "They got shot in the face."
Yeah. Yeah, I'm quite
Wow.
shocked. When I was looking at pictures, I was like, they both got shot. Like he got shot in the
Yeah,
forehead and like nothing.
yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, miraculous, really, that
Who's their
they
doctor?
I'm
Can
sure they had lots. um
Oh my god, no, that just reminded me of something about, because you said the forehead too. It's not really relevant, but my daughter, I was like, we were at the kitchen table, and then I was like, doing something stupid, and we're like, where we just stare at each other, like into like
mm,
a staring contest almost, but
yeah.
we just do silly things like that, and then like I was looking from one eye to the other, doing that thing, and then I think she said something to me like, "Oh, if I want to just look at you, then I'll just like focus on one of the lines in your forehead." And I was like, "Oh, thanks."
Wow.
Burn. I was like, "Yeah, I got like 3 lines. What do you want?"
Yeah.
I'm expressive, and I probably raise my eyebrows a lot, and then I get those, and then I makes me think of my dad and his wrinkly forehead. So I'm proud of
Uh,
it. But it
I
was
don't really in my forehead, but I
funny.
definitely have like around my mouth.
Oh, the lines.
Yeah, like the laugh lines they call them, I think. Yeah, I
Laugh
definitely
lines are
have
good.
that.
I love a little laugh line. Don't call them
Yeah.
crow's feet. They're smile lines. That's much cuter.
Yeah.
Um,
Yay. But
yeah, exactly. Embrace it.
yeah. Uh yeah, so getting into it was kind of confusing, but I assume there was some sort of pre-trial that happened because the prosecution was arguing that Nathan should be tried as an adult,
Oh,
even
yeah.
though he
Yeah.
was just 14 at the time. They argued that if he was tried as a juvenile, he would be able to be guaranteed release or at age 21. And they really
Right.
questioned the public safety if he was out so early after just 7 years. So,
I mean, I would.
yeah. At this point, the court decided that he would stand trial as an adult for the 2 attempted murder charges, and Nathan, because of this, would face a minimum of 40 to 50 years in prison.
40 to 50?
Yeah,
Because they're gonna decide to, or can they just decide to try him as an adult? That's interesting.
yeah, they decided to. Uh,
Huh.
yeah,
All right, all right. No, some of
yeah.
this is familiar to my case, so interesting,
Okay.
interesting. Yeah, like the
I feel
rules
like
and
this one,
whatnot.
yeah, has like kind of a special like thing to it that you don't always see, but yeah, we'll get to it.
Sure. We don't
So,
often cover child murders, but when we do, sometimes those episodes get a lot of plays, like Japanese true crime,
yeah.
where you've covered a child murderer. Right?
Yes.
That was the one,
Yes, I
yeah.
did.
And then that one, I don't know. I was like, I guess
Yeah.
people loved it.
Yeah. Uh so it's kind of disappointing, but like John, the dad, and his wife Beth kind of described how during the trial and even the pre-trial, neither side really wanted to talk to them. Which
Okay.
I think really sucks. So they said the prosecutors didn't want to talk to them because they were the parents of the accused, and the defense also didn't really want to talk to them because they were the victims. Um, so they didn't really know
Hmm.
what was going on, and neither side wanted to talk to them or have any input from them. So they were really just kind of there as everybody else was kind of like watching. the trial take place. They were basically had as much information as everybody else did at that point. They didn't know anything
You would
more.
think they would be closer to the defense. Just
Right?
I'm
Yeah.
like, wait, am I mixing this up? Yeah, like that's their
Yeah.
son on trial. Like,
Yeah.
it's weird.
Yeah. So he did get quoted saying, we didn't really know what was going on, but we did feel that Nathan did need to be punished. Adding, part of the realization we've come to is that we couldn't provide the treatment that Nathan needed, but the court might be able to provide that. So, like, some sort
Okay.
of, like, hopeful treatment because he is still, like, a juvenile. So
Yeah.
Nathan ended up avoiding going to trial by pleading guilty to a lesser charge of assault with a deadly weapon. And then in February 2015, he was sentenced to 15 and a half years in prison. Which some people might not agree with, but I mean,
Yeah, sorry. No, I'm still I think I got hung up again on the defense thing because oh yeah, it's his own parents. Oh, it
yeah,
is such a weird, complicated
yeah,
case you got here.
yeah,
Man. Okay, yeah, no, that's good. He should get something.
yeah, yeah. So,
Don't disagree.
one thing that showed up in one of the sources, which I thought was interesting, was that according to Professor Kathleen, I think it's Heidi of the University of South Florida in the US, she says that 5 parents on average are killed by their children every week, which is crazy to
In
me.
the US?
Uh, I don't know. It says
I
South
was gonna say I
Florida
hope
in the
so, but that
US,
sounds mean.
comma.
Oh, okay.
So I think the 5, I hope the world, I hope it's not 5 in such a small
Oh,
area as like the US, but
5
on
in the
average, yeah.
I mean, that's why they make statistics like that to just kind of stick it to you like that. Like
Yeah.
a bit of a scare tactic almost, I guess.
Yeah. Um yeah, and what is a bit different if we talked about as we've talked about with this case is the lack of any really warning signs leading up to it. And
Yeah.
Nathan's friends and family still describe him as a good kid.
Okay.
Yeah. So Caden, again, his best friend from school, is quoted saying he was well liked by everyone in the school, and as for sports, he was on top, and he had all the girls, that's for sure. So apparently he's popular at 14, but people like him.
Before or after the attempted murder?
I think before.
Okay. I mean, love me a bad boy, but
Yeah. But shooting your parents is too much, man.
I think it's a bit of a cry for help, yeah.
Yeah. Understandably, both parents after the shooting were diagnosed with PTSD.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah. Like,
Yes.
John describes, quote, many, many, many sleepless nights, nightmares, and lots of issues that they've had to overcome.
Because they were sleeping.
Yeah, like,
Mm.
my understanding is, what did he do? He, like, shot the mom, and that was the first, like, shot, and that caused John to wake up, and then he, like,
Oh.
shot the dad after he woke up, and then basically went, like, back and forth.
I would have definitely shot my
Like,
dad first. Just saying.
yeah, they say eliminate the biggest threat. But,
Right?
yeah.
Yeah, my stepdad is about, or if you want to call him that, my mom's husband, Claude. He's about the same size as my mom, so
Hmm.
in a morbid sense, it probably wouldn't really matter. They're little.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, the parents ended up moving into a new house afterward. Makes sense. They said partly to
Yeah.
escape the painful memories associated with it. And this was so weird. I thought it said, well, it would be hard for people to move forward and come to, or, well, it might be hard for some to move forward and come to terms with their son shooting them John says, quote, "I'm extremely good at bottling up emotions," which maybe isn't something you'd want to brag about, because that's not
Is that
great.
the whole quote?
Yeah. Just like, I'm extremely good at bottling up emotions.
I don't know. Somehow that feels taken out of context for me.
Yeah,
But
like
I feel
that's
like what
all
you
it
wouldn't.
said, and it was just
Oh,
like
I know.
dropped in the middle of one of the sources. I was like, what?
Right, right. I believe you. I totally. It just feels like something somebody would like take out of context so they could be like, oh,
Yeah.
look what he said. He just said, I'm really good at bottling up emotions. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you kind of have to get to be though, I guess. Maybe.
Yeah. So the documentary from like the 911 call I played, it's about an hour long. I couldn't find it to watch myself, but
Oh, okay.
there is like 6 minutes of it on YouTube. That I'll put on the webpage, and then a link to it as well if anybody
Oh,
wants to watch it. It was kind of interesting. It just shows like little snippets of interviews.
nice.
And it was
Yeah.
done as a British TV documentary, and it's called "I Shot My Parents."
Of course it is.
To the point.
I shot my parents. Sorry. I don't know what that British accent was, but it's the
Yeah.
first one that came out.
It features interviews with the family where they talk about the impact the shooting has had, probably on each of them.
Mm.
The interesting thing I'd say about this whole case that you may not see in a lot of others is that Nathan and his parents still maintain regular contact and seem to have a fairly good relationship.
Okay.
Yeah, they visit Nathan in prison. It said where they chat about normal things. His mom doesn't approve of his new beard and wants to know if he's brushing his teeth regularly. It said they try and avoid talking about the shooting and try and talk about more normal things. And those were the examples of what they talk about that they provided, I guess.
Oh,
Yeah,
was he also their only child? Do you know?
I think so. I didn't have
Oh,
any mention of anybody else.
I
Um,
mean,
yeah.
I have one daughter, and I don't know what the hell I would forgive from her. I hope to never find out if it's shooting me in the face, but
Yeah,
I
right?
can't say how I would react if she was remorseful, like it
Yeah.
sounds like he was.
Yeah.
Oh, mental health is a real issue, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
So John, the dad, admits that he'll probably never understand exactly why Nathan chose to try and murder them that night.
Yeah.
Which, yeah, that's fair. Like, that'd be a
Sounds like
lot
Nathan
to.
doesn't really understand.
Exactly. Um, the next I have from one of the BBC had a pretty good write up about it, about the documentary. Because, again, I couldn't watch it. So these were the little things they say that happen in the documentary.
Mm.
Um, at the end of the documentary, as their visiting time comes to an end, Nathan's parents hug him and tell them that they love him. He replies in kind. Beth ends up saying, quote, "I'm glad that we didn't die just for Nathan, so that Nathan never has to carry that." Which I think, like,
Damn.
yeah, I mean,
What
that's
a
fair
drop that mom
thing.
bomb, why don't you?
Right. Yeah, that is quite the mom thing. And
Fuck.
not to be like happy that you live because you value your life, but because you wouldn't want him to have to live with having killed you. Yeah.
Makes me feel like I'm not a fucking good enough person somehow.
Yeah.
Jeez. But like I get how people like decide to choose forgiveness and stuff more for
I
themselves
feel
than
like
living
that's
with
what they've
anger.
done. Yeah.
Yeah. I can only hold a grudge for so long.
Uh, so continuing from the BBC article saying Nathan is still trying to understand what he did with the help of his therapist, Shanna Schultz. Since being
Good.
imprisoned, he has had a number of psychiatric assessments. And Schultz explains that after observing him for a few years, quote, "We haven't noticed any personality disorders, and there's been no antisocial traits." She adds in the film that she hasn't witnessed anything in Nathan that would give anyone cause to believe he was psychotic. And his defense attorney adds his opinion in the film that there was no evidence of abuse at the home.
Okay. Well, that's good.
Yeah. Continuing with
I
that,
guess.
they said he's had a number of diagnoses, and this is an ongoing process
Okay.
of investigation and not a definitive explanation.
Sure.
Yeah, so he was diagnosed on arrival to the prison as oppositional defiance disorder, having ADHD and possible bipolar disorder, which,
Okay, I've heard of 2 of those.
yeah, I've never heard of oppositional defiance disorder.
Yeah,
Just, it
yeah.
spells odd. ODD.
Oh my gosh. Sounds like a new thing. I was reading one of those
Yeah.
books set in Scandinavia
Hmm.
again lately, and they kept referencing ADHD, and then oh, DAMP. I was like, what is DAMP? I've never heard of DAMP. Like, I'm just like, they have an acronym that they're throwing around that I've never heard of, and I didn't ever look it up.
Okay. I feel like I heard it once, but I cannot remember.
Oh, really? I'm always
Yeah.
trying to keep ahead. I think I heard the other day that we're not supposed to say Asperger's anymore, so I really got to give myself a crash course so that I like don't say the wrong thing.
Oh, okay. I didn't know
I'll
that.
look up.
Yeah.
I'll try and look up what damp is because now I've said it like 5 times. Uh, oh god. Oh no. What would I even look up? Medical diagnosis. Oh god.
What is the meaning of damp?
I know it just was like slightly wet. I was like, oh no. Okay, so well this one Google says it's been defined as a combination of ADHD and DCD, developmental coordination disorder, a
Oh, okay.
subcategory of ADHD. Okay, sure. Well, they're trying to improve on their words. Good for them.
Yeah, it helps.
Yeah, it's a big old mental health book they got to keep
Yeah.
writing.
Yeah, so these diagnoses that happened were later revised and based on more further assessments that they did. In the documentary, they said that his current diagnosis is major depressive disorder. And they
That
wanted to
does sound like
say,
a big bummer.
yeah. They said it's not clear whether there is any link between major depressive disorder, otherwise known as clinical depression, and extreme violence, which I haven't really heard of before either.
Hmm.
But
So
yeah,
they're saying there's a link between.
there isn't. Well, it's not clear whether there's a link. I think people
Oh,
are trying to study it to see, but
huh.
yeah,
Or maybe there's some sort of correlation or something.
yeah.
Shrugs.
Um, And while they said there's no evidence to link Nathan's diagnosis to his crime, for now it seems that therapy is helping him come to terms with what he did and why he did it.
That's good.
Yeah. And then John said that he had gone back kind of and thought over that night hundreds and hundreds of times, or I guess leading up to it, and every decision that the family or the parents had ever made, trying to work out if they should have handled their son differently.
Aw.
And Nathan explained that he experienced depression. What? Oh, Nathan also claimed he experienced depression and was really vulnerable at the time of the attack, saying, quote, "I have one of the most severe versions of depression, and depression affects people in different ways. There are your depressed people that sleep, and your depressed people that are really irritable." And then he continues in a different quote saying, "It was just one night, and I was just really vulnerable with everything for my brain to handle. It was too much, and I just snapped." Which
Okay.
sounds like it did happen. Um,
That sucks to have to come to terms with that then.
right? Yeah. That's why, like, I can agree with the parents in saying that maybe the court, like, they didn't have the tools to help Nathan, but maybe the court would, and this is hopefully, like, the outcome and the therapy and treatment and working through what happened is gonna
Yeah,
have a good outcome
yeah.
in the end.
Right. Almost a best case scenario. So like
Yeah.
a crime was, an attempted murder, and then like we seem to be rehabilitating the
Yeah.
criminal. Yeah, it's pretty good in that sense.
Um, and then, so that's kind of like everything about the story. But in one of my sources, which I thought was going to be my best source, because it said it had information from the police report and the police interviews. And it said Moses Lake police report provides Nathan Brooks possible motivation for shooting his parents.
Okay, it
And
does sound promising.
right? I was like, ooh, great, love it. After everything
Possible
was kind of
motivation.
like, we don't have any motivation other than he was told to do chores and then he was grounded. I was like,
Yeah.
ooh, let's hear it from the police report. And then they kind of completely told a totally different story from everything I just told you, which is really
They
confusing
spun
to
it a
me.
totally different way.
But they say this is from the police reports directly, which
Oh.
floors me because if this is true, it is a completely different story, which I don't know how
Oh
I feel
no.
about this version of events. This was on yoursource1.com. Uh,
They really want to be your number one source.
yeah, right?
I mean, that's
We're
already
number
trying too
one.
hard, so I don't
Yeah.
know, but okay. I'll take it with a grain of
Um,
salt, I guess.
so this is all directly from the article. I got rid of some of the paragraphs, but this is exactly what it said in the article. Nathan Brooks reportedly wanted to kill his parents since he was 8 years old, and it was taking away his video games that led him to shooting them while they were sleeping. He was
Oh.
allegedly upset with being grounded for 2 weeks and from using any electronic devices, which included playing these video games. Which confuses me because they talk about video
Right.
games, but everything else said it was a basketball game.
Right.
Yeah,
Like maybe they skimmed something and were like, "Oh, okay, so he wanted to play his basketball video game," and then they like repeated
right.
that. Because I wondered too the first time you said it if it was a real game
Yeah,
until you clarified.
that's how I kept getting confused because I was reading this. I read this as one of my first sources and was like, what the fuck? Like, is this two
Oh my
totally different cases?
god.
Because this
It's
is
so hard to
insane.
research things with all the like not
Yeah,
necessarily fake news, but you know what I mean? Like different
yeah.
versions of everything.
Um, they continue saying Nathan Brooks told an interviewing police officer he would play video games every chance he could. Quote, he said he quit
Oh,
playing violent video games because he thought they were making him more violent. Moses Lake Police Sergeant Mike Williams wrote in his
okay.
report. So this is,
Said no teenage boy ever. They're making
yeah,
me boy more violent.
but this is apparently what Sergeant Mike Williams wrote in his police report that they're taking this information from. The police report continued saying, I asked him how much he played video games, and he told me 24/7 up until he got his electronics taken away. Continues from the report saying Nathan said he had a long talk with his parents about how they were disappointed with his ongoing disobedience. He told me that he had gotten in trouble for taking a credit card from his parents, and his mom had said that he was meeting the definition of insanity.
Oh, that's what she said.
Apparently, according to this police report, that's what he says she said. Uh,
Okay.
the fact that he kept trying the same thing over and over and expecting different results, Sergeant Williams wrote in his report.
Oh, okay. I mean, I
Yeah,
could see her saying that amidst a tirade of
but
you
like this,
keep pissing me off or like not picking up your socks and thinking I won't get mad every time.
well,
But
now
like
they're like saying he's like stole their credit card. Like, where'd that come from?
yeah, that too was a
Yeah.
new thing.
Um, Nathan was allegedly so angry he went to a locked plastic gun safe in the spare bedroom and pried the door open enough to grab a 22 caliber pistol from inside. He reportedly waited for about 90 minutes listening to music while he decided whether he wanted to kill his parents, according to
Oh,
court records.
what was he listening to?
I don't know.
That
Um,
probably has an effect.
yeah. It says, quote, he said he was rethinking it, but said ultimately the voice telling him to do it was louder than the one telling him not to, according to Sergeant Williams' police report. He said he just
The
heard
devil on his shoulder.
Yeah. He said
Sorry.
he just heard over and over in his head that he would be able to do whatever he wanted if he killed his parents. The article continues saying when the battery ran out of his radio, he reportedly plugged it into charge and took the gun to his parents' room. He allegedly sneaked into the room and aimed at the back of his father's head. This one says he shot his dad first, and then shot his mom, and then shot again at his dad when his father rolled out of bed, according to Williams' report. Nathan said that when he was firing at his mom and she tried to get up, he fired at her twice more, so she stopped moving. Nathan allegedly told police he got mad and things went black, but later gave details on how he reportedly shot his parents. Then they throw like this out there saying when the gun was empty, Nathan reportedly went back downstairs to reload it. He allegedly became scared when he heard his dad yelling and saying he was gonna get his .40 caliber pistol. And Nathan dropped the bullets he was trying to reload into the gun. Nathan reportedly ran out the back door of the house and threw the reloaded gun into the swimming pool.
And this is why my face has wrinkles, because my eyebrows could not be
Right?
further up my fucking
That's what I'm like,
head.
if this is from the police
Incredulous.
report, this is like a totally different
What?
sequence of events than anything else I read.
Also not highly logical
Yeah.
either.
When officers arrived on the scene, they were greeted by John and Nathan Brooks at a window. Nathan answered the door wearing only his underwear, as we kind of said, and that's what he was wearing in the video. The
Right.
investigation report noted that two police officers, recognized Nathan because he played basketball on teams with the police officers' sons. As the officers entered the residence, an officer asked Nathan where the shooter was, and Nathan told him that the shooter had left, according to the police report. Then this floored me. So I really hope that this whole article is bullshit, because it says, while Nathan Brooks has no criminal history, Moses Lake police have previously investigated a report of him molesting a girl younger than himself in 2010, which in 2010 he was 11. According to the police, according to the police report, Jonathan Brooks allegedly refused to let police talk to his son about the molestation accusation, and charges were never filed. Which I'm like, way to sprinkle that in at the end. Like, what?
Yeah.
I'm like, what the fuck? Yeah.
I don't know, bury some sort of lead.
But it's like, okay, you say this is like from the police report and the interviews, but it's everything on there is totally different than what every other source says. So I hope it's not true. But those details were so crazy, I had to go through them because it's like insane.
It does seem like the dramatized TV movie version or something.
Right?
Everything's very like, well, this must have been because,
Yeah.
I don't know.
So I don't know if this is what Moses Lake Police Sergeant Mike Williams. This is supposedly all from his reports that he did.
I think I knew Mike Williams.
Yeah, he's like the police sergeant. But yeah, the only other thing I had to finish it off is after the sentencing and everything, Nathan is technically due for release in 2028. So we'll see.
2028.
Yeah.
Oh, that's 5 years.
5 years.
Now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
No. Okay. How old will he be? Do we know? In 2028?
2028?
I forget when this happened already. 2013, 2014, I think you said? Or was that when he was born?
He was 14 years old in 2013, so he'll be 29.
See, I take terrible notes, even when I take notes to myself. I have
he'll be 29.
I have Nathon Brooks. It's spelled correctly, and then I had March 8th, 2013/14 written down.
Oh, yeah, because I said on March 8th, 2013, a 14-year-old. So they were very close together.
Oh,
That's
no wonder
probably
I couldn't remember what fucking year it was even right then.
Yeah,
I do pay attention, guys. I try. Anyway.
but
Man, that's
yeah, I hope
crazy to
that
see.
this later version of events I told you about, like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I really hope none of that's true, because if it is, it's a
I mean,
totally different story than. And if that
yeah.
is true, then I hope he doesn't get out, because that
Yeah.
doesn't sound
Probably
like
somewhere
somebody you want on the
in the
streets.
middle. Like, it's probably like he said, she said, and the truth kind of thing. It's like,
Yeah,
I bet you it's somewhere in the middle of that, maybe. The first one sounded more plausible,
right?
in my
Yeah,
opinion.
I was just kind of shocked, like, reading that. And then I was
Yeah,
like,
because
is
he
this
didn't.
the same case? I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah,
I was like, this
because
is crazy.
he
And
was
then
remorseful and he didn't,
yeah,
really seem to have a motive, and
yeah,
they had a relationship with him afterwards, and so obviously that would have been difficult if he
yeah,
still harbored a lot of hatred, and or if they
yeah,
did. Yeah, that's crazy though.
yeah. I was like, that sounds pretty wild.
I
Just like,
know those near near death
yeah,
true crime cases,
I
which
can't
reminds me we
believe.
should do near death experiences when we do
Yes.
paranormal too, because those are so crazy.
Yeah,
What
yeah.
people
I'm just
see.
happy the parents survived, even though it was
Yeah.
supposed to be kids who kill and stuff. I was like, this, after I started looking into the case, I was like, this is really interesting and has so many
Oh
things
yeah.
that you don't really expect. That I was
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
oh, this would
yeah.
be interesting to cover. And yeah,
It really was.
you can let
Um,
us know how how you feel about it. You can comment
yeah.
and tell us.
I personally like a Kelsey story that goes a little less murdery than normal. It was a
Right?
good bait and switch.
Especially when you said like you kept saying this episode's gonna be really dark, and then I was like, oh shit, mine's not even a murder.
Not even a murder. It very well could have been easily.
Yeah, it it definitely had the indent of murder. They just survived. But yeah, I
Next
was
time I
just
see
like,
my kid coming in the room, I'm like, what are you doing? She'll probably just be coming in to turn off the
show
TV
me your
because we've
hands.
fallen asleep in front of it.
Yeah.
She's
Oh
like,
gosh.
come turn your TV off, you old farts. That's
Oh,
happened before.
that's so
Uh,
nice.
yeah. I'm probably just like passed out, like, head back, like, ah.
Yeah.
Oh, I know she's kind of a night owl like me. Some days I'm like, are you going to bed? Don't you have to go? Sometimes it's like, oh no, there's no school in the morning. I'm like, all right, but you still have to go to sleep sometime.
Right?
Yeah, I think she takes after me there.
I am not. I am tired always.
I guess. I mean, she doesn't hate mornings.
That's good.
I can get up in the morning if I'm going to get something nice like a breakfast.
Yeah. Yeah, some people do not ever really get up in mornings or anything. So, that's good.
Yeah. I think you probably experienced what happens if I don't eat in the morning. Because there was that day in Vegas when we were gonna out to eat, and then we had to walk around for a while, and then I got really hangry, and
Yeah.
that's not a pleasant sight always. But
No.
usually, if you feed me, I don't turn into a gremlin.
Yeah. Right.
So, oh, all right, that was really good, and we'll be right back.
Welcome back. This episode sponsored by Gordo.
Our cat mascot. Oh,
Yeah.
he's our pod cat, which is
Podcast.
just what you call it. I know it
Yeah.
actually fits so much better than pod dog. So
They
I'm
both
adopting
work.
it. It's true. I've heard other people that have pod dogs, but then I was like, oh my god, pod cat. Pod cat? Nope, I said that wrong. Someone's had a little bit too much of the pod cat today.
Yeah, in between our break, he decided he wanted a bunch of attention, and now he's leaving the room. Fun. He's like, okay, we're done. Goodbye.
Tracks.
Yeah.
All right, Gordo, you're not into the true crime. We get it.
Yeah, right?
Jeez. All right, well, maybe he knows it's about to get a little dark again. I also found a case. It is really dark when you do have to look up things like kids who kill.
Yeah.
On the other side, maybe we can do it. If we can find a couple of stories, we could do one on kids who solve cases. I feel like I've seen someone do an episode on that.
Yeah. And there are witnesses and things like that.
Yes. I was writing down some other topics today because I was like, I have topics. Sometimes they just come to me and then they're just like written somewhere in my notes, and I'm like, that's not gonna do. I like to have one big sheet of paper or several sheets or something.
Yeah.
And I wrote down like we could do the ones where like a ghost or a psychic solves a true crime case. That could be something
yeah.
fun.
Yeah. Psychics do help on quite a few cases that I've heard about.
It's been known to happen.
Yeah.
And there's one I've heard of on several podcasts where a ghost kind of comes back to help convict her murderer. So that's a really fun one too if you haven't heard it.
Ooh.
Mm-hmm. I know, it's actually a really old one. So yeah, let us know, guys. We can do it. But this one's from the 70s. Yay.
Okay.
So Craig Chandler Price was born on October 11th, 1973 in Rhode Island. So yes, we're off on the road to Rhode Island. A song from Family Guy. We're off on the road to Rhode Island. His parents worked at a Kmart.
Oh god.
We used to have those. And
Yeah, a few of them.
Yeah. And his mom Shirley was a clerk and his dad John was a manager there. And I guess that was pretty cool for the times kind of thing, because like also they're black, and I guess not a ton of African Americans in that area might have had that kind of managerial position. At least
Yeah, good for them.
Yeah, I was like, okay, at least that's what one article implied, so good for them, yeah. They had at one point lived apparently in a town that had like a less than a 1% black population, so that was probably pretty rough too.
Yeah. Wow.
I come across that a lot on they'll do that on Small Town Murder. They'll talk about the ethnic makeup, I guess you'd call it, of the town. So they'll be like, it's to give you an idea, this small town has this many people, and it's like 15% black and 85% white, and, or like, you know what I mean, like 0.5% Asian, Mexican, or whatever, something Latino.
I always wonder how they get that information, like where they get that information from.
Well, then they come door to door and do those survey things. The
yeah,
census?
But like when they're trying to like look it up, like how are they accessing and like Googling that information?
Well, I'll tell you one thing, they literally read Google reviews of the towns, which are hilarious a lot of the time. Oh yeah, it reminds me of because I'll also sometimes listen to Beach Too Sandy, Water Too Wet, which is by one of the hosts of And That's Why We Drink, and they read 1-star reviews of things, which are downright like got stabbed here, would go back, that kind of thing, like just the weirdest reviews that you hear.
Nice. That would be fun for a Patreon episode. I would love to read just ridiculous reviews of things.
Oh, totally. Yeah, you read reviews. I'm not a review reading person when I necessarily buy something, but they're hilarious to listen to. That could be really good content.
Amazon reviews sometimes things are pretty good too. You're just like, what are you even saying right now?
Haunted doll reviews.
Yeah.
Oh my god, we should do it. Patreon's where we try out all the fun content and I steal ideas from other shows.
Yeah.
Let's see how they work.
We're free to do whatever we want.
Oh, that's where it's at, I'm telling you. So okay, yes. So Craig was a pretty nice young boy. His teachers and others who knew him said that he was a bit of a comedian a lot of the times. He was also known to be a very helpful young man. He was helping people carry in their groceries. He would mow the neighbor's lawn, all that kind of stuff.
Sounds nice.
He does, but we'll see. So he was athletic.
Dun dun dun.
I'm not going to tell you who's up with what yet.
Yeah, I was
Who
like,
knows?
oh, she's not
Soon enough.
not even gonna hint if he's the murderer or victim.
I mean, it can be tough because, you do want to humanize. I don't know, whatever. You just try, yeah. So I try to be unbiased. We'll just put it that way, and it
I
can
do
be fun
too.
to kind of. Well, it can be kind of fun to draw out the mystery too. But yeah, definitely. No, you're good. By about 9 years old, he began displaying some sort of worrisome behaviors, such as expressing a sort of fascination with death and a plethora of sort of dark thoughts.
At 9, okay, not great.
Yeah, that's what I read anyway.
It's pretty early from.
True. He's barely hitting puberty and the thoughts that come along with that.
Yeah.
He did begin to get in trouble with authorities at that time, and the police were probably called out to his house at least once for a situation that apparently got out of control. Police were called out to the house, and then he was also caught for breaking and entering, robbery, stalking, drug use, and assault.
Ooh, yeah, it's escalating. It's not good.
His rap sheet's growing, and this is all by his 13th birthday.
God, I'm gonna guess he's the perpetrator and not the victim.
Right? It's like, oh yeah, we're talking about kids, so
Yeah, wow.
but now this is going downhill. Yep. Yeah, he then joined a gang.
Oh God.
And was smoking weed and doing acid, which to me, yeah, it's more the gang that's problematic there, because
Yeah.
it was
Or,
the 70s.
well, yeah, depending what his reaction to the acid and stuff is. Some people have bad reactions, so.
I know,
Yeah.
and every time it comes up here, he's like always smoking a joint that's laced with LSD, and you're like, but wasn't there any normal weed? Because even the weed back then wasn't that harsh, I heard.
Yeah. Like, really low percentages based compared to what
Yeah.
they're able to grow now, like with how much more we know about it, and even the stuff that companies are legally allowed to grow, it's a lot more able to be controlled.
Right.
Yeah. So some
learn how to,
older
like,
stuff,
hydroponic grow it so
yeah,
good. Yeah.
some of the
Oh,
older
yeah.
stuff could have been only like 1 or 2%, and we're
Right.
smoking stuff that's like 30 or 40% here in Canada because we're awesome.
I know, it's great.
Which we ran into problems when we tried to go to the state in Vegas when we were trying to buy weed, and we found
that
out
was
they couldn't
bullshit.
sell anything more than like 3% or something stupid anywhere that was within however.
They basically couldn't sell weed on the strip. Yeah.
Yeah, based on its distance from a casino, and then we ended up
it could have
thankfully.
CBD in it, but it couldn't
Yeah.
be like anything that would actually get you high. And I was like, okay, great. So I'll be going off strip then.
Yeah, we ended up going, I can't remember the weed store's name, the ginormous one. It was a lot of fun. Would recommend.
No, it's probably something like 420. I can't remember.
Yeah.
But it was enormous. Yeah, it was like a
It had like
store.
80 some checkouts. And like 40 of them were open. It was insanity.
Yeah, it wasn't like they maybe needed that many, to be fair.
But we still waited like 25 minutes from.
Yeah, because they didn't have our name on a list because their system wasn't that good. They should just have it like here, where we have one like on almost every corner now. It's like Tim Hortons, cannabis store, Starbucks, McDonald's.
Yeah.
And you can just, it's great though. You can get like these little, they're almost like the little vape pens that you have for smoking tobacco. They're really handy.
I feel like my one that's right by my work is not the most strategic place for it to be, because the places on either side of it are basically a gym is really close by, and then a chopped leaf, which is like a fancy salad place. I feel like that's
true.
not the clientele you're looking for at a weed store.
Maybe not.
And then there's like a restaurant and a vacation place, like a travel agency. And it's like, really?
But they're everywhere. No, I know
It's
what you
just so
mean.
funny.
Yeah. Yeah, there's
Like
a
health
plaza
food
near my
store.
work. It's got
Damn.
yeah. There's one where okay, I go to the McDonald's there sometimes. Sometimes I go to the sandwich shop, which is kind of like a chopped leaf. It's more of a healthy one. It's like there's a Fife and Deckel, that's what it's called. And then they have a little cannabis store. And then today I was like, oh, they have a liquor store in that plaza too. Yay!
Right? Yeah.
Found it all.
Anyway, we got sidetracked talking about weed.
Tangent. Oh yeah, because it was the 70s, right?
Yeah.
And yes, I smoke weed and talk about it. No. So, okay, so then after this is when he's 13 and he has a huge growth spurt to, no one's surprise. But probably to some people's surprise, if they knew about it, he began to use his newfound height to like peep into people's windows. So, remember he was stalking. So he has very bad tendencies so far.
Yeah, that's not good.
Yeah, it's escalating quickly, it would seem. But I know what happens. So, no. One night he ended up at his neighbor's down the street. Literally down the street. Her name was Rebecca. They both lived on Inez Avenue. He was at number 76. She was at number 60. So pretty close.
Yeah.
And Rebecca had been renting the house with her brother and her two children. So she was separated from their father. And with the father, she had an 8-year-old son and a 4-year-old daughter. So her and the kids and her brother happened to live at this house.
Okay.
Yeah. So her lease was up at the end of July of that year, which was 1987. So they were preparing to move. And her ex took the kids for the day, which was the 27th of July, so that she could just pack in peace. Her bestie came over to help her pack, like you do.
Yeah.
So sweet.
Yeah.
I know.
I'm sorry, Pat.
I don't know if the mic's gonna pick him up, but that was like a real like,
yeah.
what is going on down there? Anyway,
we're leaving all of it in. If it is in there, if you can hear it, we're leaving all of it in.
I love bloopers. If any of you don't know, I like to, if I can find any, put bloopers at the end of our episodes. Okay, so her bestie was helping her pack, and then she cooks dinner for, she and her and the brother and whatever, before he leaves for work for a night shift at about 8:30 p.m. Sorry. I don't know why I said 11. Okay. Then the best friend's boyfriend comes over to help for a bit more packing after supper. And then it's so cute. They all go out for ice cream as a treat after that for all their hard work.
Yeah.
Like even without the kids there.
Yeah, it was like adults going out for ice cream. I love that.
Right? I'm just like, okay, Dairy Queen. So they go around 11, and then the friends end up leaving the house at midnight. Whereupon Rebecca curls up on the floor in front of the TV, throws a blanket over herself, and then promptly passes out watching TV.
On the floor. Okay.
I know. I would assume some of the furniture is gone at this point, because otherwise, why?
Honestly, it sounds kind of sad. I'm sorry.
Yeah. It would not be super comfy.
You have a throw rug or something you can put down. I just picture her on hardwood floor, bundled up like a dog under a blanket in front of the TV.
I know. I have a hard time picturing the scene too, because I'm like,
yeah,
is there a blanket? Is the coffee table still there? What is happening? Yeah. Just because you have things packed up in boxes doesn't mean you've moved the furniture yet. But they had been kind of moving or preparing to move for a few weeks, so Craig finds himself standing outside of her window, peering in, and sees her sleeping.
Oh.
So he likes to roam around in the neighborhood. I can't remember if I mentioned that, but he does. So this is where he is, and he enters through the back door, which happened to be unlocked because it was the
No.
70s.
Always lock all the doors and windows.
Right? I know. Sometimes I think, oh, I should do those ones that lead out into the fenced backyard, even though, yes, someone would have to climb over the fence and get inside, and then the dog, we'd probably hear the dog, but I'm like, I should probably still lock it.
Yeah.
Well,
But
because
yes,
like,
you would hear your dog.
no, I know, it's true, it's true. So I usually don't worry about it, but then I'm like, I just feel like I grew up in the 80s where it was like, yeah, people, like, we didn't always have to lock our door, and we were kind of on the outskirts of town, and a lot of times people were home, and so it just wasn't always a thing that
Yeah.
the door would happen to be locked. I get it. But yeah, this time she's very vulnerable, unfortunately. um Enters through the back door. He heads to the kitchen. He's looking for a frying pan, apparently, but then he sees a
Okay.
large kitchen knife. Yeah, I think he just had it in mind that maybe a frying pan would be a good weapon. But then he happened to opportunistically see a large knife on the, board or whatever, and he takes that. So, classic horror movie guy.
Yeah.
He walks back to Rebecca, stands there watching her for a little while longer, which is just so gross because she's still
Yeah.
fast asleep.
Don't like that. I always hope they'll wake up, like feel somebody watching them or something.
Mm-hmm. I was looking out the office window at somebody on the ground floor today, and oh, there's that guy going to his truck. There's Beardy, a little bit of a beard. And then he kind of started to look up towards. You can't see into the
Yeah.
glass windows, but I thought, oh, he felt my eyes on him. He looked towards the windows.
Weird.
Sorry,
Yeah.
Beardy. um. So, yeah. So he goes back to the living room, stands over her, watching her for a while, and then just proceeds to stab her suddenly 58 times.
What? Jeez.
Yeah, pretty unprovoked.
Yeah. And that's kind
Yeah.
of strange. They talk about that being like overkill or like the
Yeah.
like passion killings where you like know the person and you have a resentment against them that you would stab them that many times. But
Mm-hmm.
wow.
Having known the whole case, while there might be something you could call half an explanation, yeah, I still don't get it.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Explanation's not even a good enough word, but you know what I mean. Like, we'll see if there's any quote unquote motive. But he stabbed her so many times that he punctured her liver, her lungs, her face, and her head multiple times.
Wow.
Then he just stood up and walked out the back door and hopped the fence and went back home.
Jeez. It's probably covered in blood too.
Yeah, and because she'd been sleeping, like, the worst part to me was that she hadn't even had a chance to scream.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't
Like,
like that. Yeah.
similar to yours, because
Yeah,
they were
that's crazy.
startled. Yeah.
Right? You wake up to gunshots or you wake up to yourself being stabbed. Like,
Yeah. God. I've had some nightmares lately. I don't know if that was thanks to you vividly describing yours, but sometimes I'll just have the most random ones. And usually it's just that I can't move fast enough in them, which is probably that whole. I must be
yeah.
like, I think it's like you're like half aware. And so I'm like, oh, I'm kind of in a dream. That's probably why I can't move that well. But I'm still just like churning my legs. It's terrible.
Yeah. I can wake myself up if I've had the dream before. I can be like, I remember this. This is a dream. Wake up, and I'll like say wake up, and I'll wake up like immediately, and then be
That's
like, okay.
good.
And it's not the like my alarm's going off and it's morning or anything. No, it'll be like the middle of the night, and it's like wake up, and then I immediately wake up. And
Yeah.
but yeah, the ones that I'm having for the first time, I never seem to be able to get myself out of them. So
Weird, because it's like unknown, maybe. Yeah.
yeah, like there isn't something, I'm not recognizing it that it's a dream. But
You're like, what's this movie? Oh no.
oh no.
Thanks, subconscious.
Right?
Okay. Yeah. So Rebecca was not found until at least the next morning, like sometime the next morning or day,
Oh
when her
god.
brother Carl came home.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's terrible.
Yeah, he came home from work and he called 911, and apparently he even attempted to perform CPR, even though it was pretty clear she was already dead. Like, that made me sad. Police could not find a reason why someone would want even to kill Rebecca, who seemingly had no enemies and was leaving the area anyway. I don't know. Like,
Yeah.
the murder weapon was nowhere to be found. They had really like nothing to go on at this point. 2 years go by, in fact, and the case remains unsolved. Meanwhile, Craig is carrying on like nothing happened. He has started high school and he does well there, where he's getting good grades.
Wow.
But his dark passenger is certainly still along for the ride. So Craig scopes out someone else's house because he still likes to wander around at night, and he's just breaking enters and all that.
Just looking for like opportunity. Wow.
Yeah, I don't know if it's some sort of outlet for him or what, but yeah, it seems to come upon him anyway.
Wow.
This time he finds the home of the Keatons. So John Keaton was a military man, a sergeant, not a bad rank, who had married Joan Keaton. So John and Joan.
Oh,
cute. I know, I love coming across those kind of couple names at my job. I'm like, aw. Like I had a Gary and Mary the other day.
no.
I don't know if I could ever date an Alan. Alan and Alanna. It's my grandpa's name. So he had married Joan when they were both quite young, and they had had 2 daughters, a Jennifer, who was born in 1979, then 2 years later, Melissa followed. But sadly, on June 19th, 1983, John took his own life.
Okay.
So, yeah, I think the girls were still very, very young.
Yeah.
So, not long after that, something said the family suffered another, loss or whatever. So it didn't get into it, but they wanted a fresh start. So by 1985, they had moved. They decided to move.
Yeah.
They wanted to get a fresh start, but this would unfortunately be their tragic end. So they had been there for 4 years when on September 1st, 1989, Craig smokes some more weed, laced with some more LSD, and then goes on the prowl. He's a predator hunting his prey again. He's had a cooling off period, shall we say, right?
Yeah. Which I find weird. Like, it's been years.
Yes, it has been. Like a couple of years.
Yeah.
And I don't know, when we were talking about getting these cases, we're like, oh, haha, there's not many that have multiple killings. These won't be too long cases.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Found one that maybe had more than one killing. It's crazy. Okay, so he arrives at the Keaton house where all is quiet. He stands outside, then he finds his way into the house, not sure if the door was unlocked, but probably. I think that's how he got in anyway, is what I meant. Sorry. I read that kind of weird. But Joan and everyone had been asleep, but she heard the intruder. She then went downstairs to inspect the noise coming from the kitchen area and came face to face with Craig Price. And I should have at least probably included one or two pictures, but when you do see him, he is very large. Like he had that growth spurt, and so he was kind of
Yeah.
built like a brick shithouse for a fucking
Yeah.
preteen or 13, 14-year-old, whatever. 15, I guess. Yeah, he's huge. He's thick. So he panics and he rushes her. He like I assume pushes her up against the wall because it said he's using his weight to pin her, and then he strangles her.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, she slumps over and he is unsure if that she's dead. Because, before he just had to stab someone when they were totally inert on the ground. So what does he know if
Yeah.
he's just, made her unconscious or not? So he grabs a kitchen knife and stabs her 57 times.
Oh my god.
Yep. She was only 39. He stabbed her more times than years she was alive. Ugh.
Yeah. And she's got 2 young kids.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they both had, but her 2 kids are home. Her children heard the commotion and ran downstairs to see what was going on.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Jennifer arrived first. She's the older one, and she stood in horror looking at the scene before her. Then Craig notices her, and he sees now he has a witness that he needs to deal with. So while she's screaming for her sister to call 911 and fighting off her attacker, he is stabbing her multiple times. Is actually able to stab her 62 times.
Jesus.
I was like, I
What
just
the heck?
have to get it out.
He is insane.
It's
Like,
a
they talk
fucking
about how
bloodbath.
long it takes to stab
Yes,
somebody that many times.
that's
Like, we're
true.
talking
I
like
thought about
minutes, like stabbing some,
yes,
and how much energy you expel from like actually stabbing somebody that many times.
truly.
Like,
Yeah, so the
wow.
poor little sister had to have been like frozen in fear for the amount of
Yeah.
times he was able to stab the older one.
Jeez.
Then he seems to see her going for the phone, so he brutally stabs her to death also, stabbed 37 times.
Jesus.
Now the whole family's dead. He, for good measure, picks up a nearby stool and crushes her skull with it. By the time all
What
was
the
said and
fuck?
done, the tip of his knife had snapped off in her neck.
Yeah.
I feel like if ever I should have given a trigger warning, maybe I should have for that one because it was pretty bad. Sorry. I listen to a lot of true crime, but it's some of them are just so bad.
Yeah,
This
oh
was
my god.
Oh yeah.
Insane.
And like also like 2 of them have been adults now. Like a lot of time if
Yeah.
it's a kid, the only person they can really overpower is like another kid
Yeah, that's
or
true.
sleeping parents or whatever. So yeah, it
Yeah.
does kind of track, but it's just like, oh man, we picked some scary fucking people.
Yeah. Yeah, this is a crazy episode.
Damn. This was strange also because it would almost seem like some sort of remorse because he covers up 2 of the bodies with sheets before he leaves. Just 2 of them. Not sure which 2. I know from later that one of them was Joan, but I don't get it.
Okay, I was gonna guess the kids
I know.
because they were like,
Younger?
yeah, or if you think about like if he's going in the mindset that he's gonna kill one person, those 2 were the
Right.
unintentional ones.
That's
So,
true. They were like collateral damage. Yeah.
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 Okay, but one of them's the mom. Wow.
Well, yeah, it said when Joan's family hadn't heard from her in several days, they became concerned
Aw.
because she usually called them and she wasn't answering their phone calls, so they decided to check on her. So Joan's mom, Marie, and her sister, Mary Lou, head over.
Oh
They
my god,
drive on
no.
over.
No.
What?
I said, oh my god, no.
No, no, no.
I don't want them to go in that house.
They find the back door unlocked and enter enough to see a horrific tableau of blood and bodies, and they can
Yes.
see Joan lying under a sheet. So she must have been one of the ones covered.
Okay.
So they apparently call 911 and wait outside as to not disturb the scene.
Good, yeah.
Oh, that was good. Yeah, and I also am pretty happy with the way the cops seem to handle everything. Like, they had been kind of stumped thinking that Rebecca's murder had been a standalone incident before, but now they had 4 very similar murders.
Yeah,
So,
I'm
a little
happy
bit
they
more
figured that
going
out,
on.
even though there was years in between them. They seem to jump
That's
right on
true.
that.
That's
That's
true.
good.
That's true.
It doesn't
No,
always
they do
happen.
seem to be. I'm sorry.
I said that doesn't always happen. Like,
Oh, no.
that
No,
they're
no,
so
no.
quick to pick stuff up like that.
Yeah. Yeah, so because it was, it's the same small area, and they noticed these kind of 4 factors that Rebecca and Joan were single mothers living with their 2 children. They had roughly the same number of stab wounds, i.e., a lot. Like,
Yeah, they were off by 1 for them.
yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
the 2 women. And the murder weapons seemed to come from the victim's kitchen each time.
Hmm.
So those were all the same. But they still hadn't yet been able to find the murder weapons, so in that sense they were at a bit of a standstill and a bit stumped as to who the
Yeah.
perpetrator was.
And they're probably not looking at teenagers.
Yeah, I wouldn't think
like,
there'd be any connection between these 2 people other than the profile we just mentioned.
yeah.
So, like, I don't know. I think they were both white from pictures I remember, but other than that, yeah, I don't know. So now they call in some bigger guns. First, a Dr. Henry Lee, quote, the world's foremost forensic scientist who specializes in blood analysis. So he's pretty cool.
Nice.
Yeah, and he was actually, able to help and identify a size 13 men's footprint in the blood. So I don't think that had previously been able to be identified, I guess. And it was a
Hopefully,
suck footprint.
like, they should also be able to find his blood, because they talk about when you stab somebody and you get blood on the knife, your hand almost always is going to slip, and you're almost always going to cut your own palm when you're stabbing somebody else.
You're so
So it's
smart,
like,
they wouldn't have had to call in the special agent.
right? That's it. I'm going to become a fucking crime scene analyst. freelance crime scene analyst.
Well, my next bullet point. They brought in Special Agent Greg McCrary, who was an FBI profiler. He said that the killer displayed great rage and fury in his attacks. He said that this crazed attack would likely have left him with a cut of his own that he would have cut himself during the frenzy.
Yeah.
Oh man, it's like I get mad if Pat thinks he can finish my sentence, but yeah, sometimes people are right. So cue the cops spotting Craig hanging out at a park, and of course they do know him to see him.
Yeah.
Well,
This
but
probably 6'4", 6'5" to have size 13 shoes. Like,
yeah, he is pretty big. Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
But this seems reminiscent of your case. They knew him from also participation in local police-sponsored youth events. And I thought your guy had something like that too, where he participated.
The police just knew him because their sons were on the basketball team together or something.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. So they were just knew of him in another way. But like,
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, this guy, they know him for some bad stuff, and then they know him for some okay stuff, I guess. So they know his face.
Yeah.
So they wonder if he's witnessed anything. They go talk to him. They can't help but notice that he has a new bandage on his hand. They ask how it happened. He says he drunkenly smashed a car window in. All right. And being the diligent cops that they were, they tried to verify that. They checked if any vehicle break-ins had been reported on the day in question, but there were none. So, yeah, now they got some alarm bells ringing in their heads. But they're still kind of baffled how this all could be connected, because they're like, how could he have also killed Rebecca Spencer, because he would have been 13 at the time?
Yeah.
I mean, I probably would have thought the same.
Right? Yeah. I listened to a recent Crimes and Consequences episode, and they were talking about the one guy's criminal history, and they're like, he is really bad. And they were talking about, and he committed his first murder at 16. And it was like, what the fuck? Like,
right? Like,
yeah.
That's unusual, to say the fucking least.
Yeah. Like, not
It's
it to be
like
somebody that you know, or you have like more of a motive or connection to, but for it to be like almost strangers, it's very unusual.
Exactly. Yeah. You have like a snapped moment, like, where they just go out, fly off the handle or whatever, but not usually so premeditated or whatever.
Yeah.
So before they could act on this information or questioning they have about the bandage, they got a tip. A call comes in from one of Craig's friends that says that, who says that Craig has been bragging about getting away with murder, Rebecca's murder.
Oh my god. Like, I'm glad he's a dumbass, but every time I hear something like that, I shake my head like,
Oh, it's almost like he's a 15-year-old dumbass. Yeah. But exactly.
But it's like, dude, you got away with it, and then you are your own downfall in that because you're bragging about it. Like, do you not want to keep getting away with it?
Yeah, you want some sort of recognition, but
you don't want to get caught.
Yeah, or like, and your person, sorry, but didn't he think like, oh, I have so much more freedom if I kill my parents? Like, no, you'll go to jail. You'll have less freedom.
Yeah, that's what a couple of the quotes said. Yeah. It's just like, they won't be here to tell me what to do anymore if I kill them. It's like, yeah, but you'll be in prison being told even more what to do.
Yeah, they won't be there to take care of you either, dick.
Yeah.
So this tip gave the DA the push they needed to issue a search warrant. On September 17th, 1989, they searched the Price family home. And one thing I read said that he just went back to bed while they were searching his house. I don't know. I don't think you were allowed.
Sorry, Gordo just jumped back.
Yeah.
Back into frame.
I was gonna say, I noticed him.
Yeah, maybe he doesn't, or maybe he thinks there's nothing, like, in the house.
I thought that maybe you had to leave the premises, though. I don't know.
No.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Once they hit the shed, they hit the jackpot. Towards the back, they found a plastic bag. The bag contained knives, clothing, and gloves, all of which were saturated in dried blood. This was their smoking gun. Oh,
gross.
Yeah. He's 15. He doesn't know how to clean.
I don't know what bleach is.
Yeah. Especially when they found the bloody size 13 sock.
Oh my god.
'Cause he kept it. Yes.
It's called go burn it in a parking lot.
I was going to say, there had to have been some better option that
and then like
think of.
Pour a gallon of bleach on it. So that even if they can test and be like, it has blood, they can't test the actual blood. Like, for DNA,
I hate to say it, but as a 15-year-old male, I'm sure he doesn't understand a thing about laundry.
True. What are we even saying? Only a 15-year-old girl knows how to get blood out of like every item of clothing she owns.
I have had tips from girlfriends, but
yeah,
more in my adulthood. Apparently, salt can be good. Anyway,
salt.
Salt. I've heard salt. Yeah, bloodstains. Yeah. So, at first, okay, so they arrest him, put him in a police car. His poor mother was asked if she wanted to accompany him to the station, and she agreed, sobbing the whole time, of course.
Oh my god. I can't imagine.
I know, your baby. At first, they start to try and coax him by asking him some more innocent questions, like, why is he so angry? And what's going on? What happened? And that kind of thing. So he says that, okay, well, he says that he experienced racism, which made him incensed. So he basically recounts a day when he had been playing in the street with some other kids, he says, and then they had been cursed out and shouted at to get out of the way by a white man driving by.
Because they're playing in the street?
Because they're playing in the street.
Okay.
Hockey. No, I don't know. That's what it would be here. I do see little kids playing with their little hockey nets sometimes.
But it's like, what could that possibly have had to do with racism if he's yelling at you to get out of the street because you're playing in the street? He needs you to move out of the street so he doesn't hit you with his car. Not
so
get out of here because you're black.
No. Yeah. True. But then he also said the man used a racial epithet, so
okay.
He claimed that, there was a slur used or whatever.
Okay, that's fair
Because,
then. I was just
I mean,
what? He just needs you to get out of the fucking street.
Right, and this is the explanation we're getting from Craig, so we'll take it with a grain of salt anyway. He says he later followed the man, angry that he'd said the word. He said he was also angry at himself for not defending him and his friends. He was just angry. Angry young man.
Okay.
He had followed the man to his house that he happened to share with his sister, Rebecca. Because that man was Carl Spencer. Yup.
Okay.
So, yeah, that's how he kind of finds Rebecca's house and all that. But when questioned later, Carl denies ever swearing or using foul language at the group of kids. He says, yes, he saw them playing out in the street, but that nothing of that sort, like an altercation, had really happened. So,
okay.
But
it was like, but do you believe that too? Would you be like, yes, I totally like?
True. Yeah. It's hard to say, right? Because maybe if you had flown off the handle and said something you regret, and now something bad like this has happened to your sister, maybe you would, it wouldn't be so forthcoming. You don't know.
Yeah.
He said he should. Oh my God, that's hard to say. He said.
Yeah.
Okay. Carl apparently waited until his whole family was asleep and he went over to the house. He did not see Carl's car in the driveway, so he knew he wasn't home, and he apparently left. However, back at home, he got back on his acid-laced weed.
Ugh.
Yeah,
that seems to be going great for you.
Right?
Like, fuck.
Yeah, you're in an agitated state of mind. I don't know.
Maybe you don't need to take acid right now.
Yeah, you're like on the hunt again.
Maybe you just need to smoke some regular weed and come
I know, where's all the regular weed? I kept writing that. Like, what the fuck?
Who's his dealer?
Literally,
Jesus.
Nobody smokes regular weed and goes out to try and kill someone. Okay, maybe it makes you a little paranoid. That doesn't make you usually want to kill someone else. It makes you want to hide. But and it all depends on the strains and stuff, or so I've heard it, that maybe that's why some ones make you paranoid and some don't. Anyway. They teach them a lot at the cannabis stores nowadays. It's like a whole... We're going to have, like, weed connoisseurs like we have wine connoisseurs.
Well, I watched something, and they said they've done studies now, and that they believe the sativa and indica belief of that, it's all fictional. Like, it doesn't actually exist. It's just where, like, that plant strain came from, but that... neither one actually does one from the other. It's what you believe it's going to do. It's like psychosomatic now. It's
Oh, how the
labeled this, so you
effects, the
think
way
it's gonna make you sleepy, and it's labeled this, you think it's gonna make you do this.
okay, because the
Like,
way people will say like indica is the one that makes you go into couch, and that is the one that
yeah.
makes you more sleepy.
Yeah, they're
That's
saying that's not
interesting.
really true anymore. Like,
My only basis for knowledge on that was like one little freaking Netflix show I watched. Like I was telling you, those mini documentaries where it's
yeah.
half an hour on its topic, and yeah, they were talking about how it was really only grew in Asia, and then
Yeah.
I thought they had to blend the sativa and indica to get a strain that would actually grow in North America. I thought it was pretty fascinating, but clearly I did not
Yeah.
learn that much. I'll have to watch it again.
Well,
But
this was the first time I think I had heard that. It was like one of those
yeah.
wired interviews where they get like an expert on something and they answer just random questions
Ooh,
off the internet,
I
and
love
they have like the
experts.
doctor ones and stuff like that. Yeah, it was
Oh,
one that was she's one of the like cannabis like research and dispensary people. She has like a fucking PhD in
interesting.
cannabis or something. It was like really weird. It's
Oh,
like, ooh, that sounds
wow.
fun.
I just remember my
Yeah.
local like store guy being like, "Oh yeah, this one. Yeah." I was like, "Oh, cool. They have different things on it where it says terpenes this on it now." And he was like, "Oh yeah, that's really important because like certain terpenes, like I found out that this one makes me paranoid, and that's why I'll avoid that.
Yeah.
But they don't always print which terpenes are on them." And I was like, "I don't even know what the fuck a terpene is. Like this is starting to get way crazier than just alcohol by volume, like the ABV on a wine bottle.
Yeah.
It's pretty crazy."
Yeah.
But I think that's interesting because that would explain to me why maybe, different people seem to have different effects, different strains, whatever.
Yeah.
Anywho's, so when Carl was still not home, when he went back after smoking his crazy weed, um, he decided that when he saw Rebecca through the window, that she would have to do instead.
Ugh,
So
I don't like that.
just, I hate all of it. It's almost opportunistic.
Yeah.
She spent her whole last fucking day on Earth packing her house, which, how much does
Oh,
that fucking suck? I
and
hated that part.
sleeping on the hard floor.
Yes! She's exhausted. Oh my god, she
Uh,
didn't stand a chance.
all she got to have was ice
Oh,
cream.
yeah. It was good. So, but they pressed him for more details because they wanted to be sure this wasn't a false confession. Again, I'm impressed that the cops did the
Mm,
right thing. He mentioned
yeah.
she had moving boxes in the corner of her house, and then they knew he was probably telling the truth. But then he went on to confess to the other murders, which also they were like, "Oh, okay."
Let
Did
me grab
you
some new paper.
hold my beer?
It's like, what? What's happening? Yeah.
Oh, yeah. He gave them more details probably than they wanted because he kept telling them about how the little girls sounded as they were crying out as he was killing them.
Oh, jeez. Keep that to yourself.
Yeah, it's fucking horrible. Oh, and apparently he would also describe this in pretty great detail in court too, where he was pretty more remorseless by
Wow.
all accounts. Yeah.
Jeez.
Oh, he even talked about how he bit one of the victims in the face as he stabbed her.
What the fuck?
Yep. Um, he was only 15 when he was arrested. So
Jeez. That's so young.
he's so young. I can't believe we don't know more about him.
Like, murdered fucking 4 people. 15. That's insane.
Oh yeah, yeah. He's like he should be in the Guinness book because I think we'll get to it, but he's like the youngest in America to kill that many. Yeah.
Wow.
And then he refused to go under the court-ordered psychological testing, afraid that they would use these results to put him away for life, because duh.
Well, what do you care? You're gonna go away for life anyway. You think anybody's gonna find you innocent?
But recall what happened in your case where they can't keep them past 21 if they're a juvenile offender a lot of the time.
Ugh.
So the case gets a little more complicated, but we're almost done. Bear with me here. So from the Crime Wire, which was an excellent resource for this case, I'll have to try and use it again. In
Yeah, I've used it
1989,
once before. It's
have
good.
you? I was
Yeah.
like, damn, they had a lot of info. Sorry. In 1989, when Craig was arrested for the murders, it was against the laws of the American criminal justice system for prison services to incarcerate juvenile offenders past their 21st birthday.
Okay, yeah.
Sorry, I had that written out. I didn't know you were going to mention it. But therefore, when Craig was found guilty on the murder charges, he was only sentenced to serve 5 to 6 years in a juvenile facility.
I can't believe they charged him as a juvenile then. Like, holy crap.
I know, but can you just decide to choose them as could make them as an adult if they're only 15? Like, I don't know how that works.
I don't know, but like they're separate things. It didn't all happen in one time. Like it was years in between.
No.
You clearly had thought about doing it again.
No,
Like,
true, but he's still super a minor now. Yeah, it's very weird.
jeez.
It said if he'd been an adult when he committed the murders, he would have received a mandatory life sentence. The laws on young offenders in 1989 ensured that after Craig served the 5 to 6 years, he would get released and his criminal record would be sealed.
Oh my god, no. That's so
However,
scary.
Craig's actions after he was sentenced prompted people to take the necessary steps needed to make changes to the system. On September 21st, 1989, that's what? Oh, that's right, the same year. Craig pleaded guilty to his charges and he was transferred to another facility. When he was in this other facility, Craig was ordered to undergo psychological therapy and examinations to determine a proper course of action needed to rehabilitate him.
Bet he loved
Craig
that.
No, yeah, he should fucking have to.
Yeah.
But he wasn't willing to comply. He absolutely refused to submit to any and all attempts health and prison officials made to engage him in the mandatory treatment and therapy. Thus, he has remained untreated. The public, I mean,
I loved
great.
that face. That was so great.
I sometimes have to stop myself just to pause in case you want to react or say something because I'm just like, ugh, I've read this all before, it's horrible. And I just like,
Yeah.
you know how you just kind of try and get through it almost.
Yeah.
And I just stop and give like a horrible thumbs up and I'm like, great. The public outcry prompted changes to the system in which we prosecute minors who commit first-degree murders. Eventually, the O'Neill Bill was passed in order to harden sentencing for juveniles, but this couldn't be retroactively applied to this case, unfortunately. Jeffrey Pine, the Assistant Attorney General, and Kevin Collins, Warwick police detective, would join forces to help pass some of the laws. Oh, sometimes you'll hear him called a Warwick slasher because of the neighborhood. Stupid.
Okay.
Due to the brutality of his crimes and the opinion of state psychologists that he was a poor candidate for rehab. Sorry, this is a quote. Yeah.
Jesus.
A group of citizens opposed to the release of Craig Price formed to lobby for his continued imprisonment. Price was charged with a variety of crimes, including criminal contempt for refusing the psych eval, extortion for threatening a corrections officer, and assault and violation of probation for fights while in prison. He was sentenced to an additional 10 to 25 years, depending on his cooperation with treatment.
Good.
Sorry, my typo.
I was gonna say he's definitely not getting out early for good behavior.
No, and I think that's what they've kind of had to rely on. So this part was in my own words through a combination of their like creativity and perseverance during the trial and the sentencing and his own bad behavior, they were able to charge him with this contempt and other things to extend the prison time. Thank God, because they couldn't make it longer otherwise. So just a little rundown of his violent behavior since he's been incarcerated. Since 1996, he's succeeded in adding more time to his original 5 to 6 years and the additional 15 years he received from the contempt of court charges. In 1996, Craig received 1 additional year for biting the finger of an officer. 1997, Craig was charged with contempt for again not complying with the psychological mandates ordered by the court. He was again found guilty, receiving an additional 25 years, 15 suspended. 1999 and 2001, Craig verbally and physically attacked another officer and received 4 additional years added to his sentence.
I love it.
And in 2017, Craig attacked fellow inmate Joshua Davis with a shank and received 25 additional years.
Love it.
Yes, so the 2022 update is before the incident in 2017. Craig Price's earliest parole hearing would have been February 2022. However, now that he has received the additional 25 years, many believe that Craig will never see freedom again in this lifetime.
That's good. Love it.
Yeah, because he's not feeling any remorse, so he should probably stay there if he doesn't want to get any psychological
He seems
treatment.
to love it because he keeps doing everything possible to stay in there. Shanking people, biting people, just loves it in there.
I mean, yeah, and it's not the ones that have just those harmless old men that have been in prison for so long they don't know how to live on the outside. Like, you know, he's not that. He's
scary.
He's very scary.
Yeah.
Also, Pat had a friend named Corey Price, and I kept thinking of him whenever I'd write Craig Price.
Oh god.
Anyway, it's not the same one.
No. I should hope not.
No, but I think Pat did have a weird friend that used to come up to his door naked when he was a kid. I'll have to ask him if that was his friend Corey. Oh, the 70s and 80s. They were a different time.
I wasn't alive yet, so I cannot comment. I can
all
barely,
right. I
can
some
barely
of the
comment
80s.
on the 90s.
True that.
Yeah.
Well,
I don't remember
we
Y2K. But
I was 12. I went to a little party. It was fun.
I was only 5. Almost 6.
You must have heard it afterward. What's this weird Y2K urban legend bullshit?
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's
that
like,
must have
and
been weird.
I do kind of remember like 9/11 and stuff, like on the news, but not enough to
okay.
like really be like, I actually remember it and be sure about that.
Right. See, for me, that is one of those where they're like, people be like, oh, you remember where you were and something like that. And I'm like, yeah, kind of, because it was a big news thing. And I was like in grade 8. So I think I was like in class. I do remember hearing about it in Mr. Stone's classroom. But like, yeah, there was probably maybe another case that was one of the first ones you remember actually hearing enough about to care about.
Yeah.
You would have been probably too young for the Clinton scandal too.
Except LimeWire trying to download music, and I kept multiple times we tried downloading songs and it would be him. I did not have sexual relations with that woman. And my mom just
I love to make fun of him too.
Yeah,
and also when the time when he smoked weed and they were like, I did not inhale, and it was like, ooh, such a big deal. Like, none of it really matters.
It's just funny because I ended up on like my MP3 player or something.
Oh my
and
god.
I was asking my mom, like, what is this? And my mom got mad at my brother because my brother's the one that downloaded the music for me.
Oh, your older brother's the source of information, aren't they always?
Well, he's like, well, I didn't listen to it before I put it on her MP3, and my mom got so mad.
Now I have to explain something. You know, inappropriate.
Well, they didn't really explain it. They just took it off and they're like, oh, no, it's just like something stupid. And it wasn't until years later that I heard about the whole scandal. I was like, that's what that was?
Right? Oh, yeah. It's as much of a scandal as any of the fucking other president ones, which is so stupid because we just need to be more sex positive here. But, you know, I get it. Whatever. He got caught. So what? Lots of presidents cheated.
Yeah.
Also, LimeWire. Wow. I haven't heard about that in a long time.
Right?
Jeez. Blast from the past.
Yeah. Good old LimeWire. You didn't know what you were getting. Could have been a song. Could have been Bill Clinton. You don't know.
Oh, the early days of the internet. Oh, God. Yeah. You couldn't Google anything with, like, White House in it without, like, porn coming up, as our friend Billy Joe found out. He was like, I just wanted something innocent. I can't remember now. I don't.
Oh, wow.
Oh my
Oh.
god. Okay.
Well, hopefully everybody enjoyed this week's episode. And
Yes. Hopefully we'll come at you in one part. No editing issues.
yeah.
Knock on wood. It's a new moon, not a full moon.
Right?
But
And
I've been having
then-
issues.
Our next episode, I think, is technically our Patreon. It's gonna be all about aliens again.
That's right. On our recording skidge.
Yeah.
I'm excited for that. So check that out on patreon.com/castles and cryptids, especially if you want us to go ghost hunting and do our other Patreon goals.
Yeah.
And
What do we
our
have
next
after
regular-
that? I'm
yeah.
like, I don't have it in front of me. I couldn't remember if we had one picked out.
Well, we have episode 1 of 6. 1 of 6?
106.
Which I found out a name for this phenomenon is sometimes called the third man syndrome.
Oh, yes.
And no, we're not
Yes.
talking about menage a trois. This is more of the gift of fear, intuition type cases. So
Yeah.
it should be fun and really interesting.
Yeah.
All right.
Thanks for
Keep it cryptic.
listening.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.
This has been Castles and Cryptids. You can listen to our podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Anchor, Breaker, Pocket Cast, and our YouTube channel. Please rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Reddit. On our website, you can listen to all of our episodes as well as view pictures for each of our segments. Check out our Patreon page to view all of our tiers and become a Patreon supporter today to unlock monthly bonus episodes and behind-the-scenes content. We are working on an Ask Us Anything. You can submit questions by social media or by email at castlesandcryptids@gmail.com. Do you have a spooky ghost story, a creepy cryptid sighting, or a thrilling true crime tale you would like to share and have us include in a future episode? Send us your listener story by social media or by email. Please include the name that you would like mentioned. Our music is by Kobe Fair. Our logo and artwork is by Antonio Garcia. Thanks for listening.